Your muscles are undergoing changes right now that you likely don't perceive. Perhaps you've skipped breakfast yet again, and you're already on your third cup of black coffee. You might feel alert, disciplined, even a sense of accomplishment.
Your brain is active and your energy seems clean.
However, beneath this calm, caffeine-enhanced focus, a very different process is unfolding within your muscle tissue. Your body has made an unauthorized decision. During this period of fasting, when no calories are being consumed, it needs to source amino acids to maintain stable blood sugar levels. This sourcing happens from your muscle tissue, not your fat, at least not yet. It's your muscle, the very tissue that enables you to lift, move, stabilize, and maintain your independence. You won't notice this loss in the mirror today. However, after 4 weeks of frequent prolonged fasting, or by the second month, the signs become unmistakable. The weights you once lifted with ease now feel heavier. Your grip weakens. Your legs appear less full. You might look smaller, but not necessarily stronger. While the scale shows a lower number, your power output is also diminished. Here's an often overlooked aspect of fasting. It's not merely about the hours you abstain from eating. It's about what your body chooses to consume from within during that time. If you consistently deprive it of external food, insufficient protein, and adequate reasons to preserve muscle, your body will begin to dismantle that tissue for fuel. This marks a critical juncture. At what point does fasting cease to be an effective tool for fat loss and instead become a stealthy problem of muscle loss? When do low insulin levels and rising cortisol, combined with extended periods without protein, transition from beneficial to detrimental for your strength and long-term autonomy? In this discussion, your muscles will be the central focus. We'll explore what happens inside them during a fast, how hormones dictate whether tissue is preserved or broken down, when fasting is relatively safe for muscle, and when it starts to have adverse effects. By the end, you'll be able to determine whether your current routine is safeguarding your strength or compromising it in pursuit of leanness. To grasp this trade-off, you must view fasting as more than just not eating. It's a unique metabolic state, a coordinated survival mechanism. Imagine your body as a grand survival orchestra. Each organ is an instrument, every hormone a musical cue, and your metabolism acts as the conductor, ensuring the entire performance remains cohesive. When you stop eating, the music doesn't cease, it transforms. Your liver, fat tissue, brain, and muscles all adapt their roles to direct energy where it's most crucial. Consider this. In a fed state, your muscles are like the percussion section, performing heavy labor in the background while the spotlight is on digestion and storage. During fasting, the spotlight shifts. Your liver becomes the lead violinist, breaking down glycogen to release glucose. Your fat tissue plays the deep bass, providing fatty acids and ketones as a steady, foundational energy source. Meanwhile, your brain is the demanding soloist, requiring constant fuel and refusing to be silenced. Your muscles, however, function as both workers and savings accounts. They enable movement, stabilize joints, and consume energy, but they also represent your largest reserve of amino acids. When food is scarce, your body can draw from this account by breaking down muscle protein, sending those amino acids to the liver to create new glucose for your brain and red blood cells. Indeed, the body's conductor is highly strategic about when to tap into this reserve. This phase is where priorities become evident. Early in a fast, your body first utilizes stored carbohydrates. Glycogen in your liver is converted into glucose, maintaining stable blood sugar without significantly impacting muscle. As hours pass and glycogen stores diminish, fat burning intensifies and ketone levels begin to rise, alleviating the demand for glucose. Yet, even then, muscle remains an active player. It's akin to an emergency generator embedded in the system, always available should the primary power lines falter. A small, controlled amount of muscle protein breakdown is normal and can be fully restored upon refeeding. Short, well-structured fasts, combined with adequate protein intake and resistance training, are relatively muscle-sparing because your body can repair what was temporarily utilized. Chronic or excessive fasting, however, shifts the entire composition. When energy and protein remain low for extended periods, the balance of this metabolic orchestra changes. Insulin levels stay low, cortisol often rises, and muscle begins to donate more amino acids than your next meal can replenish. Over time, this leads to thinner muscle fibers, weaker contractions, and a quieter metabolic rhythm as your resting energy expenditure decreases. This understanding marks a crucial shift in how to perceive your routine. Fasting can be a powerful adaptive composition or a gradual erosion of your strength, depending on how frequently you ask your muscles to bear the cost. To understand when this metabolic music turns from empowering to destructive, you need to examine the nature of muscle itself. It's not just a static bicep peak or a number on a gym machine. It's a dynamic, ever-changing construction site with diligent crews constantly dismantling old material and erecting new fibers. Even when you're simply sitting and browsing, imagine a skyscraper that is perpetually under construction. On one side, workers are adding fresh steel beams and strengthening the framework. This is muscle protein synthesis, MPS, where your cells use amino acids from protein to build new muscle proteins. On the other side, different crews are removing worn-out beams and excising damaged sections. This is muscle protein breakdown, MPB, where your body dismantles proteins to recycle materials and release energy. Consider it this way. Your muscle size is the net outcome of this ongoing tug-of-war. When MPS outpaces MPB, you either gain or at least maintain muscle mass. Conversely, when MPB, even slightly, exceeds MPS, you experience muscle loss. Not suddenly or dramatically, but through a gradual, almost imperceptible decline. This is where your daily choices wield significant influence. Consuming sufficient, high-quality protein provides your body with the raw materials to boost MPS. Resistance training sends a strong mechanical signal that your muscles are needed, activating pathways like mTOR that drive synthesis. It's like dispatching additional crews and superior tools to the construction site, along with a directive that says, "Do not downsize this building." Meanwhile, fasting, stress, and certain hormones tip the balance in the opposite direction. During fasting, insulin levels drop, which is beneficial for fat metabolism, but low insulin also reduces the stimulation of MPS. Concurrently, cortisol levels can rise, promoting MPB to free up amino acids for glucose production and other critical needs. In fact, muscle serves as your largest reservoir of amino acids, making it a tempting source of backup fuel during prolonged or frequent fasts. The challenge is that you don't need a severe injury or extended bed rest to lose a significant amount of muscle. A subtle, chronic imbalance favoring breakdown over synthesis, such as frequent, long fasts combined with low protein intake and minimal strength training, will quietly diminish your muscle mass over months. Your metabolism slows, your strength wanes, and everyday tasks begin to feel more arduous, even if the scale shows a lower number. This marks a turning point in how you should view fasting. It's no longer just a question of, am I burning fat? But rather, which side of the muscle equation am I supporting? Because your body is always keeping score, even when you're not paying attention. Now, let's trace the actual timeline. For the initial few hours of a fast, your muscles are not under threat. They are mostly on standby. Imagine you finish dinner at 7 p.m. and plan to abstain from eating until the next day. From hour 0 to roughly hour 4, your body is still processing that last meal. Glucose from your recent carbohydrate intake circulates in your blood, insulin is gently elevated, and your muscles are replenishing their glycogen stores, much like charging a battery. This is the phase where everything still feels normal. Subjectively, you might not even recognize that you are fasting. You feel satisfied, perhaps a little drowsy, and your brain is calm because fuel is readily accessible. Beneath the surface, insulin is gradually decreasing, but it hasn't reached very low levels yet. Muscle protein synthesis is slowing, not crashing. Your body is on a smooth glide path, not in a free fall. By hours 4 to 6, you begin to transition out of the fed state. Insulin continues to drop, and your liver starts to take the lead. It begins releasing stored glycogen, long chains of glucose, back into your bloodstream to maintain stable energy levels. Think of this as your liver acting like a quiet night shift manager, distributing fuel tokens so your brain never perceives that the kitchen is closed. At this point, your muscles are largely unaffected. They are not being built up as vigorously because dietary protein intake has ceased, but they are also not being aggressively broken down. Occasional short gaps like this are intrinsically part of human metabolism. In fact, They represent the default state between any two normal meals. Around hours 8 to 12, the situation shifts slightly more. Glycogen in your liver is being steadily utilized, and early gluconeogenesis, the creation of new glucose from amino acids and other substrates, starts to activate. Fat utilization begins to increase, especially if you are generally well-nourished and active. It's as if your metabolism is testing its backup generators while the main power grid is still operational. Meanwhile, your hormones are quietly rearranging themselves. Lower insulin means that the strong growth signal for muscle protein synthesis is fading. Growth hormone may rise, particularly overnight, which can offer some short-term muscle protection by encouraging fat use and limiting breakdown, but it doesn't replace the impact of actually consuming protein. It functions more as a bodyguard than a construction crew. How does this feel from within? You might experience mild hunger pangs, perhaps a hollow sensation before bed or upon waking, and for some people, a sense of lightness or sharper focus. Crucially, you don't feel your muscles shrinking because, during a single, occasional 12-hour window, they largely are not. For individuals who regularly exercise, consume sufficient protein, and refuel effectively, the initial stages of fasting are typically low risk. However, here's a crucial departure from that assumption. The actual threat isn't a single fasting period, but rather allowing this initially safe practice to become an entrenched routine. Problems arise when this fasting window is extended, pushed beyond easily manageable hours, and repeated consistently without adequate recovery, caloric intake, and protein in between. This is when a subtle standby mode can gradually evolve into a steady depletion of muscle mass. When you consistently extend these comfortable fasting hours, your metabolism faces a more difficult decision. Between approximately 12 and 24 hours of fasting, your body stops relying on readily available energy reserves and begins prioritizing what to burn for survival. This is the stage where liver glycogen levels become low. Your liver has already depleted most of its stored glucose. To maintain stable blood sugar, it turns to gluconeogenesis, which is literally the creation of new glucose. Envision your liver as a meticulous chemist, drawing raw materials from various parts of your body to synthesize the glucose still required by your brain and red blood cells. Consider this: not all cells can function solely on fat and ketones. While your brain can utilize a significant amount of ketones, it cannot subsist entirely on them. Your red blood cells, in particular, cannot use fat at all. They are exclusively dependent on glucose. To safeguard these vital systems, your liver starts extracting amino acids, specifically alanine and glutamine, and converting them into glucose. These amino acids originate from a very specific source: your muscles. Initially, this contribution is minor, and you likely won't feel it directly, perhaps just some fatigue or a slight heaviness during workouts the following day. Yet, beneath the surface, your muscle proteins are being broken down into smaller fragments, released into the bloodstream, and transported to your liver's metabolic processing center. It's akin to gradually removing bricks from the back wall of a house to repair the front steps. The structure remains standing, but its integrity is subtly compromised. Simultaneously, your body isn't reckless. It attempts to preserve muscle by increasing fat oxidation and ketone production. As insulin levels drop and ketones rise, a greater portion of your overall energy is derived from fat. Your brain progressively relies more on ketones, thereby reducing its demand for glucose. In fact, this metabolic shift is one reason why fasting can be effective without immediately causing muscle degradation. However, this protective mechanism is not absolute. Low insulin levels diminish muscle protein synthesis, while concurrently elevated cortisol within this same time frame pushes towards increased muscle protein breakdown. If you are experiencing stress, sleep deprivation, intense training, or are already very lean, this hormonal blend becomes even more aggressive. With fewer fat reserves to draw upon, muscle becomes a more appealing energy source. This marks a turning point. A single extended fast followed by proper refeeding, adequate protein, and resistance training may not jeopardize your gains. Your body possesses the capacity to repair and rebuild. The critical question, however, is what happens when this pattern transitions from occasional to constant? What occurs when you stack long fasts day after day, week after week, layering intense workouts on top without ever fully replenishing the muscle you've just expended? That gradual, unnoticed depletion is where the fundamental muscle problem begins. This is where the dynamics shift. When you fast too frequently, your hormones cease to act as a supportive team and instead engage in a strategic battle with your muscle tissue. Imagine your muscle as the king on a chessboard. Each hormonal action either defends the king or progressively corners it. In a fed state, insulin serves as your loyal bodyguard. When you eat, insulin levels rise, directing glucose into your cells, pushing amino acids into your muscle, and activating muscle protein synthesis. It not only aids in muscle building, but also inhibits muscle protein breakdown, thus favoring growth or at least maintenance. During fasting, that bodyguard steps away from the board. Insulin levels drop, which is beneficial for accessing fat stores and enhancing insulin sensitivity, but it also silences the muscle building signal. To clarify, low insulin enables fat to be released from fat cells, but concurrently makes it more challenging for your muscles to acquire and retain amino acids. With frequent prolonged fasts, your body spends an increasing number of hours in this state of low insulin and reduced synthesis. Consequently, even normal daily wear and tear on your muscles becomes harder to repair. Meanwhile, cortisol enters as a crucial but risky player. This stress hormone rises to help your body mobilize energy when glucose is scarce, prompting your liver to generate new glucose through gluconeogenesis. To accomplish this, it draws amino acids from somewhere, and that source is often your muscle. In short bursts, this is an adaptive process, allowing a single 24-hour fast to free up fuel without significant damage. However, when fast is stacked upon fast, with persistently low caloric and protein intake, cortisol's assistance transforms into a gradual dismantling of your muscle fibers. Then there's growth hormone, the frequently misunderstood hero. During fasting, growth hormone levels can increase several-fold, leading many to believe this signifies pure muscle protection. In reality, most of this effect is directed towards mobilizing fat and supporting long-term tissue repair, not immediately building biceps. It's like having a brilliant architect without any bricks. Without amino acids from food and the mechanical tension from training, elevated growth hormone alone cannot maintain, let alone increase, your muscle mass over time. Here's another key interruption to common assumptions. The hormone often associated with masculinity and strength, testosterone, frequently declines with chronic low energy. Excessive fasting, significant calorie deficits, poor sleep, and relentless training pressure can, over weeks and months, cause anabolic signals like testosterone, IGF-1, and even thyroid hormones to decrease. This marks a pivotal moment. Your metabolism becomes more conservative, your drive to train may diminish, and the chessboard further tilts towards muscle loss. It's like watching your strongest pieces being traded away one by one. Short, adequately fed fasts are a tactical maneuver. You burn fat, reset insulin levels, and your muscle king remains protected. But when fasting is frequent, extended, and underfueled, your hormones gradually sacrifice rooks, bishops, and knights. Insulin's building signal, cortisol balance, growth hormone effectiveness, and testosterone. Imagine two individuals employing the identical tool, fasting, yet experiencing entirely different outcomes in their musculature. On the surface, both appear disciplined, consistent, and even healthy. Beneath that surface, their cells exist in two vastly divergent environments. Person A exemplifies where fasting truly excels. Overweight, new to training, and carrying ample stored fat, they adhere to a straightforward 16-to-8 schedule, skipping breakfast and consuming lunch and dinner. Within that 8-hour window, they consume enough total calories to avert chronic starvation and prioritize protein, aiming for approximately 25 to 40 grams per meal, occasionally supplemented with a shake after lifting. This is the period when the body finally has an opportunity to rectify past excesses. Insulin levels drop for a meaningful duration, fat cells release their contents, and stored fat becomes accessible energy. Simultaneously, 3 days a week, Person A engages in resistance training, squats, presses, rows. These sessions act as a powerful signal to the muscles, communicating to the brain and hormones, these fibers are valuable, do not burn them. Consider it this way, fasting generates the pressure, while training and protein determine what gets sacrificed. For Person A, the equation is favorable. Abundant body fat to convert into fuel, sufficient protein to maintain muscle protein synthesis, and enough tension on the muscles to convince the metabolism that lean tissue is essential, like hardware, not expendable parts. On the scale, weight decreases. In the mirror, muscles appear unchanged or slightly fuller. Strength gradually increases. This marks a turning point where fasting contributes to fat loss success rather than muscle depletion. Now consider person B. Already lean and active, they engage in daily 20-hour fasts, compressing all food intake into a small window. It's akin to demanding your body run a marathon on a single small snack. Protein intake is low due to limited time or appetite to consume it. Their routine is dominated by cardio, runs, spin classes, and long sessions that burn calories but offer minimal signals for muscle growth or preservation. Strength training is minimal, perhaps a few push-ups or an occasional dumbbell workout. On the scale, little changes, maybe a pound here or there, which can feel reassuring. However, internally, their hormones tell a different tale. Very long periods of low insulin, elevated cortisol, and limited amino acids entering the bloodstream. Their liver still needs to maintain glucose levels, so it quietly relies more on muscle protein breakdown to fuel gluconeogenesis. Over several weeks, person B notices subtle shifts. Workouts feel heavier. Weights that once moved easily now require significant effort. Soreness lingers longer because recovery is underfueled. Muscles appear flatter and less full, even at the same body weight. Fatigue creeps in throughout the day, often masked by the pride of enduring long fasts. In essence, these are early warning signs that muscle is being utilized as an emergency energy reserve. The discipline feels heroic, but the metabolism is paying the price with diminished strength, power, and long-term muscle mass. So, how can you discern if you are drifting into that perilous zone where fasting ceases to refine your physique and begins to erode your strength? Imagine entering the gym and realizing that the barbell, which once felt smooth, now seems stubbornly fixed to the floor. The effort remains the same, yet the results are regressing. This is the stage where performance serves as your primary alert. Key lifts that once steadily improved, squats, deadlifts, presses, begin to decrease even though your training plan hasn't changed. Sprint times gradually lengthen by a second or two. Your grip feels weaker during pull-ups or farmer's carries. You need progressively longer rest periods between sets just to achieve the same numbers. It's as if your muscles are still performing their duties, but your energy systems and hormones have subtly ceased to function effectively. Picture it this way. Your body is designed to safeguard muscle whenever possible. When there's a widespread decline in strength concurrently with an increase in fasting frequency, your metabolism is signaling that the trade-off is no longer beneficial. In fact, this gradual erosion of performance often manifests before any significant changes appear on the scale. Subsequently, your clothing begins to reveal clues. Sleeves that once fit snugly around your arms now hang more loosely, yet your waistband remains the same. Thighs that previously filled out jeans now appear flatter, but your midsection shows no change in the mirror. Everyday activities provide further indications. Carrying groceries feels heavier. Luggage seems more unwieldy. Ascending stairs causes your legs to burn more quickly. Bodyweight exercises such as push-ups or lunges feel unusually difficult. This signifies a shift where your body is extracting more amino acids from muscle to bridge energy gaps between fasts. Meanwhile, recovery and energy levels start to deteriorate. Muscle soreness that typically subsided within a day or two now lingers deeply. Sleep becomes lighter or more fragmented, and you awaken feeling unrefreshed. You notice increased irritability, a sense of being wired but fatigued, particularly on days when fasting windows are extended and total caloric intake remains low. Workouts that should be challenging suddenly feel agonizing, as if every repetition is performed underwater. Your brain attempts to urge you on, but your cells are undernourished. At this juncture, it's beneficial to conduct a quiet self-assessment. How often are you actually fasting throughout the week? Are you stacking long fasting periods consecutively? Are you consistently meeting at least a rough protein target? Or do your eating windows primarily consist of carbohydrates and fats, with only a token amount of protein? Are you genuinely recovering between fasts and training sessions? Or are you simply pushing through a constant haze of fatigue because discipline feels commendable? If even a few of these indicators resonate uncomfortably, your current routine might already be prompting your body toward muscle loss. This is where the hidden cost becomes apparent, not in your immediate hunger, but in how your body utilizes energy subsequently. Your resting metabolic rate is the unseen engine operating in the background. Even when you're resting on the couch, your body expends calories to keep your brain functioning, your liver detoxifying, your heart pumping, and your cells repairing. Consider this. That baseline expenditure represents your caloric salary. Muscle constitutes one of the largest expenditures on that paycheck. Muscle tissue is metabolically active. It constantly consumes energy to maintain its structure, pump ions, and respond to hormones. Therefore, when frequent aggressive fasting erodes lean mass, it's not merely shrinking your arms or legs, it's diminishing the capacity of your metabolic engine. Indeed, losing a few kilograms of muscle can translate to dozens to hundreds fewer calories burned each day, even if your workout regimen remains unchanged. This is the phase when chronic undereating becomes a snare. Prolonged fasting windows, low overall calorie intake, and insufficient protein compel your body to safeguard vital organs by sacrificing muscle. Over time, muscle protein breakdown surpasses muscle protein synthesis. Your body depletes its own amino acid reserves to produce glucose, fueling your brain and red blood cells. When energy is scarce, the outcome is lean mass reduction that appears successful on the scale, but covertly lowers your resting metabolic rate. Here's a rarely discussed paradox. With a smaller metabolic engine, future fat loss actually becomes more difficult. The same fasting schedule that previously created a substantial calorie deficit now barely makes an impact because your metabolism has decelerated. Then, when you eventually relax your routine and consume more, your body is predisposed to regain weight rapidly but unevenly. It's akin to selling parts of your engine to conserve fuel, then attempting to maintain the same speed. You regain weight, but a greater proportion of it returns as fat, not muscle, worsening your body composition even at the same scale weight. Envision two versions of yourself at the same weight. One possesses more muscle, a higher resting metabolic rate, and burns more calories even during sleep. The other has less muscle, a lower resting metabolic rate, and must struggle for every additional bite. The second scenario is where chronic, poorly planned fasting can subtly lead you. Meanwhile, the repercussions extend far beyond aesthetics. Reduced muscle mass is correlated with an elevated risk of falls and fractures, particularly with aging. Less muscle translates to less glucose storage capacity, which can exacerbate insulin resistance over time, increasing the risk of type 2 diabetes even if your body appears leaner. Your resilience to illness diminishes, recovery from surgery slows, and simple infections can hit harder because you have fewer protein reserves to draw upon. This marks a pivotal shift in how to approach fasting. More is not always better for fat loss. Beyond a certain point, pushing harder with fasting without safeguarding muscle becomes a long-term deceleration disguised as short-term progress. This signifies a turning point not merely in theory, but in how frequently you can safely employ fasting without incurring muscle loss. Imagine a continuum. At one extreme, you have gentle, time-restricted eating, perhaps 12 to 16 hours without food, adequate protein intake during eating periods, and resistance training as a cornerstone of your week. At the other extreme, you have frequent 20-plus hour fasts or repeated multi-day fasts with low calories, low protein, and no training. Your muscles exist somewhere along this spectrum. Too often isn't a fixed numerical value. It's dependent on your age, training status, body fat percentage, and your dietary habits when not fasting. A young, resistance-trained individual with some excess fat, consuming high-protein meals on eating days, can tolerate longer or more frequent fasts with less risk of muscle loss. An older adult with reduced appetite, lower hormone levels, and already diminished muscle mass cannot. Consider it this way. Muscle is your amino acid savings account. During fasting, your body sometimes needs to generate its own glucose, especially for red blood cells and certain brain functions. If you fast aggressively and frequently, and your protein intake is low, your body will increasingly draw from that account, breaking down muscle protein to maintain glucose availability. This is the phase where context becomes paramount. If you are very lean, your body has less fat to burn and less buffer. Pushing long fasts too often in this state quietly shifts the signal toward breaking down muscle for survival. High-volume endurance athletes face a similar challenge. Long runs or rides already stress muscles and deplete considerable energy. Stacking frequent long fasts on top may lead your body to utilize muscle as emergency fuel, particularly if overall carbohydrate and protein intake remains low. Conversely, someone who is younger, overweight, and new to training possesses greater fat reserves and typically consumes more total energy throughout the week. In that scenario, a 14 to 16-hour daily fasting window with robust protein intake and lifting sessions often preserves muscle effectively and may even enhance body composition. What truly delineates safe from risky isn't solely the clock. It's your weekly energy and protein balance. You can fast for several days and still protect muscle if, across the entire week, your total caloric intake roughly matches your needs and you consistently consume sufficient protein, specifically around 1.6 to 2.2 grams per kilogram of body weight, in conjunction with resistance training. It's as if your metabolism maintains a weekly ledger. Short-term dips are acceptable if the overall balance supports muscle maintenance. If you're intrigued by the interplay of age, training, hormones, and fasting duration, and desire deeper insights into muscle, metabolism, and fasting strategies, hit subscribe or follow so you don't miss the next breakdown. Now you understand the broader strategy for preserving muscle while fasting. However, there's a more subtle issue lurking in plain sight: your actual meals. Muscle isn't built in an abstract manner. It's constructed through specific, timed pulses of amino acids. Imagine each protein-rich meal as a switch. Activate it, and muscle protein synthesis, MPS, surges for a few hours, repairing fibers and laying down new tissue. Research indicates that this switch is most effectively engaged with approximately 20 to 40 grams of high-quality protein at a time, distributed throughout the day, rather than crammed into one colossal feast. Think of it this way: your muscle cells are like construction crews. They perform optimally when they receive several well-planned deliveries of building material. Breakfast, a delivery. Lunch, another. Dinner, another. Each time you reach that 20 to 40 gram threshold, MPS peaks, then gradually recedes. When you go for extended periods without protein, the crews don't simply pause. They begin to dismantle parts of the structure to maintain operations. This is the phase where long daily fasting windows become a double-edged sword. A 16-hour or 20-hour fast doesn't merely delay breakfast. It compresses all your eating opportunities into a tiny window. For someone who requires 100, 120, or even 150 grams of protein per day, this suddenly presents a logistical challenge. In fact, many active individuals discover they physically cannot chew, digest, and absorb enough protein in one or two small meals without feeling overly full or nauseous. This marks a turning point in your metabolism. Each skipped meal isn't just fewer calories, it's a missed MPS event. Skip breakfast daily, and that's one less protein pulse. Do that for months, and your total muscle building time shrinks. While background muscle protein breakdown continues quietly, your body still requires amino acids for your liver, immune system, and even glucose production. If they don't arrive on schedule from food, they are extracted from your muscle. Meanwhile, frequent long fasts can exacerbate the problem when the eating window is filled with low-protein, low-calorie foods in the pursuit of clean or light eating. Imagine inviting a construction crew to a site and only offering them salad and sparkling water. While it might seem virtuous, your muscles interpret this as a signal of scarcity. Low insulin, insufficient amino acids, and a lack of overall energy create an ideal environment for catabolism, breakdown, to outweigh anabolism, buildup, especially if this pattern repeats daily. The solution isn't just to add a scoop of protein here and there. Even if you meticulously time your meals and meet your protein targets, your muscles demand one more crucial, non-negotiable signal if you want to fast regularly and maintain them. This signal doesn't come from your diet. It comes from mechanical tension, resistance training. Mechanical tension is not optional here. It's the language your muscles understand. Picture your body as a strict manager during fasting, critically assessing every tissue and asking, is this truly necessary for survival? Resistance training is how you ensure your muscles respond to that question with a loud, unequivocal yes. Consider it this way: your body retains what it perceives as essential. When you consistently push, pull, squat, hinge, and press against significant resistance, your muscles transmit powerful signals to your brain and hormones. These signals convey, this tissue is active, this tissue is valuable. In fact, when fasting frequently, this signal becomes even more critical, because energy is scarcer, and your metabolism constantly decides between burning fat, utilizing glucose, or tapping into muscle protein. Now, consider the contrast of only doing cardiovascular exercise while fasting. Steady-state cardio does burn energy and can aid in fat loss, but it essentially tells your body, I need an efficient engine, not necessarily a large one. Your body might respond by reducing your overall size. During long, frequent fasts, particularly if you are already lean, low insulin and elevated cortisol can accelerate muscle protein breakdown. Without the counterbalance of resistance training, your muscles become a much more accessible fuel source. This is when the timing of your training becomes more significant. Fasted workouts are not inherently bad. Your body can use fat and even ketones for fuel, especially at lower intensities. However, if you lift heavy in a fasted state and then delay eating for many hours, muscle protein synthesis remains inhibited. The repair signal might be present, but the necessary building materials are absent. When you condense your eating window, post-workout protein and calories become indispensable because these are the hours when your muscles are most receptive to absorbing amino acids and rebuilding. Practically, you don't need to live in the gym. Lifting 2 to 4 times per week, concentrating on major compound movements like squats, deadlifts, presses, and rows, sends a sufficiently strong survival message. It's like broadcasting a weekly reminder to your metabolism, do not touch this tissue. Aligning your primary protein-rich meals close to these sessions, either immediately after a fasted workout or shortly before a fed one, helps your cells shift from breakdown toward synthesis. Here's the crucial insight. Strength training is not just an aesthetic add-on to your fasting routine. It's your primary insurance policy against fasting-induced muscle loss, especially as you age and natural muscle-building hormones decline. Strength training acts as your insurance policy during the fast, but the benefits are only realized when you eventually eat. Picture the moment you break a longer fast. This is the stage when your metabolism transitions from a demolition crew to a construction crew. Your body has just spent hours breaking down glycogen, tapping into fat, and if the fast was long or frequent enough, even extracting amino acids from muscle. Now, a new shift begins. The refeed window is the reconstruction phase. Think of it this way. Every bite you consume after fasting is a vote. Your body must decide in real time where to direct the incoming glucose, fat, and protein. Some replenishes glycogen in your liver. Some goes to your brain and other organs to stabilize hormones and fulfill basic energy needs. Only what remains and is properly signaled gets allocated to repairing muscle fibers that were stressed during training. This marks a pivotal moment. If you consume enough total calories, and particularly enough high-quality protein, muscle protein synthesis can accelerate, glycogen stores can be refilled, and muscle protein breakdown is blunted. You feel re-energized because your cells are literally rebuilding. However, if you break your fast with a small salad, a pastry, or ultra-processed comfort food high in fat and sugar but low in protein, your muscles are last in line. You might feel pleasantly full, but at the cellular level, your muscle is undernourished. Indeed, research on intermittent fasting indicates that muscle can be maintained when protein intake is adequate and resistance training is included. The challenge is that long fasting windows make it harder to meet that daily protein target. When you repeatedly exit a fast with just 5 to 10 grams of protein here, a light snack there, your muscles never receive the 20 to 40 gram pulses they need to maximize muscle protein synthesis. It's akin to constantly making withdrawals from a bank account and only depositing small change. One day won't ruin you, but over weeks of aggressive, frequent fasting with insufficient refeeds, the balance steadily declines. Muscle becomes the emergency fund that your body quietly liquidates to maintain stable glucose levels and hormone function. Timing also matters. If you train, aligning a substantial protein-rich meal after your workout and after a longer fast can direct nutrients precisely towards repair. Low insulin during fasting, followed by a targeted refeed, creates a potent gradient. Your muscle cells are primed for amino acids and glucose, and your next meal determines whether they receive them. Meanwhile, the pattern you repeat becomes your new baseline. Imagine stepping on the scale every few weeks and observing the number drop. On paper, it appears as progress, yet inside your body, there might be a subtle, more perilous trend. you are losing the very tissue that keeps you strong, stable, and independent. This is the stage where long-term patterns become more consequential than any single fast. Consider it this way. Your muscles are not merely for lifting weights or achieving a lean physique. They are your largest reservoir of amino acids, a glucose buffer, and a primary driver of your metabolism. When you fast too aggressively, too frequently, without giving those muscles a reason to remain, your body interprets the signal as, this tissue is expendable. That's where sarcopenia comes in. Sarcopenia is age-related muscle loss, and it already begins to affect most people after approximately age 30, accelerating in later decades. It's like a slow leak in your strength bank account. Frequent long fasts without resistance training or sufficient protein can exacerbate that leak, tipping the balance toward more muscle protein breakdown and less rebuilding, especially when insulin and anabolic hormones remain low for extended periods. Over years, this doesn't just mean less muscle, it signifies the skinny, weak trap. You pursue a lower number on the scale through chronic fasting, but you emerge lighter, not more robust. Your legs feel less powerful on stairs, your grip weakens, your posture softens, and body composition shifts towards a smaller frame with disproportionately less muscle, a lower resting metabolism, and a softer, less resilient appearance and feel, even if your body fat percentage hasn't decreased as much as you hoped. Meanwhile, weaker muscles alter how you navigate the world. Reduced strength around your hips and core means less support for your joints. Balance deteriorates, reaction time slows. A misstep on the stairs, a slippery sidewalk, or twisting to catch a falling object becomes riskier. In fact, muscle and strength loss is one of the strongest predictors of falls, fractures, and slower recovery even from minor injuries. For older adults, repeated multi-day fasts elevate the stakes even further. Muscle becomes harder to rebuild with each passing decade because muscle protein synthesis responds less dramatically to the same dose of protein and training. Long fasting windows without careful refeeding and resistance exercise can deplete precious muscle in weeks that might take months, or never, to fully recover. This marks a turning point in how you should approach fasting. What if the true goal isn't just weighing less, but becoming more capable, able to carry groceries, climb stairs, lift a grandchild, or recover quickly from illness?
And what if your current fasting method is subtly guiding your metabolism towards fragility instead of resilience?
So, how do you construct a fasting routine that burns fat without unknowingly depleting your muscle savings account? This is the stage where you stop thinking in terms of hours without food and start thinking in terms of weeks of signals to your muscles. Consider it this way. Your muscles pay less attention to your fasting window and more to your weekly pattern. Over 7 days, your body asks, did you provide me with enough protein, enough resistance, and enough recovery to justify retaining this tissue? This means your first safeguard is simple but non-negotiable. Protect total protein. Most research that successfully maintains muscle during fasting advocates for higher daily intake, especially if you train. On training days, aim to center your eating window around your workouts and your protein. Imagine a 14-10 or 16-8 schedule. You lift 3 times per week, and within that window, you consume 2 or 3 protein-rich meals, each substantial enough to clearly signal muscle protein synthesis. It's like sending a loud, do not demolish order to your muscle cells after you've just stressed them with weights. Concurrently, resistance training itself becomes your second safeguard. 2 to 4 strength sessions per week communicate to your metabolism that this tissue is essential infrastructure, not optional decoration. Without that mechanical signal, long or frequent fasts push your body to view muscle as negotiable fuel. The third safeguard is to space out the deeper fasts. Occasional 20 to 24-hour fasts can be highly effective, but their benefits are maximized when concluded with a deliberate, high-protein refeed rather than an arbitrary snack followed by a late bedtime. This marks a paradigm shift in how one approaches breaking a fast. The meal consumed after a prolonged fast isn't solely about immediate relief. It serves as a critical repair mechanism. Indeed, a danger zone emerges when one consistently schedules long fasts without adequate refeeds, particularly for older individuals or those who are already lean. With less stored body fat to rely on, the body more readily catabolizes muscle protein to produce glucose. Furthermore, older muscle tissue exhibits greater resistance to growth signals, necessitating higher protein intake and consistent resistance training simply to maintain its mass. Practically, many individuals find success by aiming for higher protein consumption on lifting days and in the initial meals following a fast, subsequently distributing protein throughout their entire eating window. This strategy provides muscle cells with repeated opportunities for rebuilding. Instead of a single, large influx of protein followed by extended periods of scarcity, this approach offers a continuous pattern. Instead of questioning how long can I fast, one should begin asking, how can I fast in a way that my stronger future self will appreciate? This reorients focus towards self-monitoring. You track progress in the gym, how your clothes fit, your energy levels, and your sleep quality. If your lifts stagnate, recovery times lengthen, or you feel weaker performing daily tasks like carrying groceries, this serves as feedback, not failure. It's an indication to shorten fasts, increase protein intake, or refine your training approach. These warning signs are not meant to discourage, but to prompt a reevaluation of fasting's role in your routine. Consider it this way: fasting was never intended as a perpetual state. In evolutionary terms, it functioned as an emergency mode, a rare component in your body's survival symphony. This phase involves a temporary shift from constant digestion to profound maintenance, characterized by fat burning, ketone production, and cellular autophagy, cellular cleanup. Used judiciously, this state can sharpen your metabolism without compromising muscle mass. Imagine two extremes. On one end, there's the modern habit of constant eating, snacks, late-night desserts, and caloric beverages throughout the day. In this scenario, your body rarely enters the fasting movement of the symphony. Insulin levels remain elevated, fat burning is suppressed, and your metabolic machinery becomes sluggish. On the other end, there's chronic fasting. Extended windows, consecutive fasting days, and minimal protein. In this world, your body is so frequently in emergency mode that it begins to sacrifice valuable instruments, your muscle, to keep functioning. It's akin to forcing your brain, liver, and hormones into a perpetual state of alert. Initially, adaptation can be powerful. Growth hormone increases, insulin decreases, and your metabolism becomes more flexible. But continuous pushing leads to sustained high cortisol, muscle protein breakdown outpacing synthesis, and amino acids from your biceps and quadriceps silently converting into glucose. The very tissue that protects your joints, stabilizes your spine, and supports your independence becomes fuel. This represents a critical pivot point in your approach to fasting. The objective is not to starve your body into submission. Rather, it's to train it to seamlessly transition between fed and fasted states, burning fat efficiently when food is unavailable, and decisively rebuilding muscle when food returns. In fact, studies demonstrate that when fasting is combined with sufficient protein and resistance training, muscle can be preserved. The issue isn't fasting itself, but fasting so frequently or aggressively that the body never fully recovers. Therefore, begin to view your muscle as a protected asset, not merely a disposable energy reservoir. Your quadriceps aren't just leg muscles. They are your brakes on stairs. Your grip strength isn't just for the gym, it's your capacity to carry groceries at 70. Fasting should work around this asset, not through it. This implies planning fasts around intense training, prioritizing protein on eating days, and resisting the notion that endless deprivation equates to discipline. Meanwhile, envision a leaner, stronger, more energetic version of yourself. This outcome isn't achieved by adhering to marathon fasts, but by using them as a precise instrument rather than a crude weapon. Short strategic resets clear your metabolic windshield, followed by deliberate refueling that reassures your muscles that they are safe and here to stay. But how do you determine the optimal frequency and duration of fasting to achieve that sweet spot where fat decreases while muscle mass is retained? Imagine approaching your next fasting window with mindful consideration instead of autopilot. You now understand that every skipped meal isn't merely less food. It's a decision about how your body will cover its energy demands. This marks a turning point. Are you primarily drawing from fat reserves? Or are you tapping into the muscle savings account you wish to preserve? Consider it this way. Your muscles function as both workers and a vault. They facilitate movement during training, protect your joints, and serve as a reservoir of amino acids that your liver can access when glucose levels are low. Fasting alters hormones such as insulin, cortisol, and growth hormone. This hormonal shift dictates whether your body burns fat, preserves muscle, or quietly dismantles it to synthesize new glucose. Over time, frequent, unplanned fasting can tilt this tug-of-war towards breakdown if the rest of your routine isn't aligned. Therefore, before you skip your next meal, perform a quick mental check. First, assess your current body composition and age. If you are already lean, older, or noticing a reduction in muscle mass, your margin for aggressive fasting is smaller. This is the stage where muscle loss can accelerate into sarcopenia and a slower metabolism if not managed carefully. Next, consider your training. Are you consistently engaging in resistance training 2 to 4 times per week, pushing your muscles sufficiently to signal their importance to your body? Without that signal, prolonged or frequent fasting is akin to telling your body it can liquidate muscle tissue to maintain basic functions. Then, protein. Are you consistently meeting a robust daily protein target on most days, particularly on eating days, with at least 20 to 30 grams of high-quality protein per meal? Long gaps with insufficient protein make it easier for cortisol to dominate and harder for muscle protein synthesis to catch up once you do eat. Reflect on your refeeds. When was your last genuine refeed, offering enough calories and protein to replenish glycogen, mitigate stress hormones, and reassure your brain that food scarcity isn't permanent? It's like a scheduled deposit back into the muscle bank after a strategic withdrawal. Finally, monitor strength trends. Are your lifts, grip strength, or even your ability to rise from the floor without using your hands remaining stable or declining?
This video is for educational purposes only and isn't medical advice. If you have any medical conditions or take prescription medications, please talk to your doctor before making any changes.